have a goal right now rolling for this hour of $2,500 so we can purchase another one of those amazing transport cars we were showing off on the radio earlier. They really are cool. We're well short of that goal, so now it's time to grab that phone and call 951-KIDS. Again, we're going for $2,500 before 12:30 today. So 951-5437. We mentioned earlier, maybe you're listening online or via the iHeartRadio app. You can call just 808-951-KIDS. You can donate from anywhere in the entire world. And you know, we've heard a lot of stories about the different kids that were born here and different challenges that they've had. Now, one of these kids looks a little bigger than the rest we've had up here. And this is Devin. Now, Devin, you're 40.
That's correct, I'm 40.
And you're a man.
I hope so.
But you know, when Devin was it 11?
11.
You had a real health scare. I mean, one of those. It was one of those words that when you hear this word, it just puts fear in people. What was that word?
It was called leukemia. That was in 1984. At the age of 11, I was diagnosed with leukemia. I was 98% leukemic at that time. Started chemotherapy immediately.
Now, I don't mean to be the negative guy, but it just seems to me that's an astonishing thing that you survived that.
Yeah, you know what was the big scare was maybe 4 or 5 years before that. I watched my grandmother pass away from her experience with leukemia as well. So it was a double blow to my family.
Right, and they'd seen what had happened to her, and then, but what made the difference for you?
Made the difference. 1984 at 11, leukemia, you know, was more just learning the word and then finding out what it was a scary part. And being ripped out of school, you know, what was so-called a quote normal childhood life, and then being put into a hospital was a scary thing.
How long was that battle?
I went under chemo for about 4 years, non-stop. So every day in, out, long stays at the hospital. Mom and dad learning to become nurses because hospital care was too expensive. And, you know, just the love and support that they wanted to give constantly couldn't be here. And that hospital was Kapi'olani, you know, under the care of Robert Wilkinson. You know, so.
Okay, so now let's jump to the future. You're clear.
I'm clear. You know, I was blessed with being in remission from the first week and a half of chemo. Never had one relapse. I was in remission with no problems, no real complications, you know, and all the way to 40.
One of the things I've noticed about people that experience what goes on here in Kapi'olani is that they tend to come back. They tend to want to say thank you. You're doing it in a special way, right?
You know, yeah. I'm actually the founder of a foundation called Prayers and Wings, and our mission is to build bridges of communication and inspiring others through crisis. And we currently work here with a lot of the other organizations in Kapi'olani, you know, just it was never planned. You know, it just came about that way. I knew I always wanted to give back one day, and never knew exactly how. And then one day that light just went on, and I put it all into action with a very powerful team.
Well, I mean, I think this is one of the things that's indicative of the people I've spoken to here, is that there really is this sense of gratitude for life, gratitude for what's been done for you. I think a lot of us can go through life and we complain about when you're here anyway, the things that we complain about outside of here seem really ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But this is real life here, and here's a guy who has gone through leukemia and he wants to give back. And you know, you don't have to go through such a challenging thing to be able to give. You can just be motivated by the words of a guy who's gone through it.
You know, there's two things. There's a couple of things that I like to live by, and you know, one of them very strongly is, you know, a lot of people say to live life like it was your last day. I believe that I try to live life like I died and actually got a second chance and came back. And the reason why I do it that way is it's less selfish, and number two is the foundation. I do it for the children that didn't make it, because I've watched a few. I watched a few that were battling the same thing that I did, and I was the one that was blessed to continue life on earth, and it was a scary time, you know. And at 40, the great thing is finding my purpose in life. That's the biggest gift I could actually ever receive, and to actually unwrap that today at the age of 40 is an awesome thing, you know. The great thing is when I was diagnosed in 1984, how everything is circling and coming about today is amazing. For example, in 1984, I was diagnosed, brought into a hospital with 4 walls. My new brothers and sisters and friends became other patients. Aunties and uncles were nurses and doctors. And it was a really scary time. And, you know, speaking of the Children's Miracle Network, how uplifting it was to walk around the hospital and see a balloon, but not know what it is. See a balloon with a name on it because someone donated some money. And at 11, I didn't know what that was. But at 40, I know what it's about today. And going back to how I was when I was 11, it really uplifted just to see a paper balloon with someone else's name on it. It made it less lonely for me, you know. And that was one of the most amazing things about coming full circle to Kapi'olani.
That's right. Well, it's great that you're here to give back. Devin, one of those, as we talk about all the time, the miracles, that really is. It's a miracle that you're here. It's a miracle that you're able to give back. And we're grateful for the donations that have made stories like this possible. If you want to help out, 951 Kids, simple phone call away. And you know what's great as well? It only takes 90 seconds. They're going to get you in and off that phone, no problem. So take a moment during your lunch hour, if you still have a moment or two to do that before you head out to eat lunch. 951 Kids, that's 951-5437. Thanks for coming in, Dad.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Back to work.